Welcome back. You've probably already guessed this from the title, but there's been a change of plans. I mentioned checking out Dodonpachi Daifukatsu next, but got a recommendation from this RG, is their username, that I might want to check this game out. This is called Like Dreamer, and I've seen a video of it in the past. I kind of overlooked it. It looked just like, oh, it's just kind of like a flash game. And that was a big mistake. The gap between actually playing this game and watching it, I think, is pretty huge. For me, it was. It's really hard to communicate how good it is to play, even compared to what I've been playing recently. So let's go ahead and start this without any further fanfare. So this is on Steam. I think it's probably also on Switch, though I don't know how good the Switch version is. I went for this character because I thought a straight shot that's just really strong would be nice, and also going at full speed because I don't really know what to expect. So I should mention, this is my first time playing through the trial mode, and it was a 1cc, and it was also a no miss, no bomb, although I did hyper right up until the true last boss. So I was proud of that. I don't know if I should really be super proud of that, because I mean, this is the easiest difficulty, casual, on trial. But yeah, so I chose this character so I could have the highest speed and also be able to kill enemies as fast as possible. So just I did play through the story mode. You have to play through the stages kind of separately until you unlock trial mode, but that was my only exposure. I didn't even really know there was a true last boss, so the whole last stage of this run was all new to me, and that was a nice surprise. Just to point out some things about this game that are so great, which is probably what I'll do for most of this video, because there's not too much to talk about. Like, this is my first run through, so I don't really have really much of a strategy going in, except be fast and react to things, which at the speed everything's going on this mode is possible with my current skill level. So the input lag, first of all, it's great that it's like an actual modern game. I think it came out in 2022, going by Steam release date, and it's nice playing a game that isn't some sort of unholy cobbled together port or emulator in disguise that adds however many frames of input lag. Like, I really felt a difference in how responsive it was, so that's great. It's kind of like with this game, they fixed every annoyance I've ever possibly had in my brief time of playing shmups. So yeah, the input lag is great. I like that it's also not exclusive full screen, so I can actually have other windows open on my ultra wide, and just have this in the center. That is, and my monitor doesn't have to like reset every time I alt tab out of it, which is not a thing with the cave ports that I've played on Steam. And I really like how all the shot colors and patterns and stuff is so clear. And I was getting really sick of the cave purple, and plus just like the clarity of everything. It's not a bunch of like, I don't have to worry about scaling issues and like, stuff that isn't being integer scaled up, which is something that I was annoyed at with trying to get some of the cave ports to work. Like, I wasn't sure what size I should have things set at to make sure it was going to use integer scaling. So And if it's not integer scaling, then you either have to accept using kind of a blurry filter, or you have to just accept jaggy edges. And I figured I don't care a whole lot about that, but I figured if I'm going to make videos about it, I should probably try to make the games I'm playing look as good as possible. So it didn't really seem to be an issue with this. Well, I suppose I'm not sure if my recording method is working how I intended with respect to that. Because I record it. I record it via, well, that's boring. Let's not talk about that, how I record them. So I also like how it telegraphs where enemies are going to show up. I don't know if that's a thing in every mode, but if you notice when an enemy's going to appear, there's a white burst on the edge of the screen, like just there on the left. So that's really nice. So it avoids some of those BS first time, trial and error, first time through a stage deaths. And you can be a little more aggressive before you know what's going to happen, because you have at least some warning that someone's going to show up. And the audio feedback is really great too. Like there's audio cues. I like how it gets louder as you get closer to an enemy. That's really nice. So you can tell, because proximity affects how much damage you're doing. And then when there's different shot patterns being sent out with different boss enemies, there's sound cues for like the different overlaid patterns, which is also really nice. Like some of the in Mushihime-sama, which granted this game is, however many years in the future from Mushihime-sama, so it's not exactly a fair comparison, but I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but a lot of the patterns are just like silent when the enemies are shooting. It's like the game's giving you every bit of like, and obviously you can still learn it, but it's just kind of like it makes it easier to learn things when you're given all of the cueing that you could possibly want. I like the health bars too, that I actually knowing how much health an enemy has, especially how it beeps when the boss is at low HP. That's really great. So like, I just hang in there for a few more seconds. Especially no slowdown too. So no more annoying like slingshot deaths because the game decided now it's time to speed up again and you weren't really ready for it. Because you just had to know how the slowdown works, and going off various forum threads of people trying to get this slowdown to be somewhat accurate in emulator, like in MAME. Even people who know the game had a hard time of knowing like what is correct, like what the slowdown should feel like. If that tells you at all how hard it is to get a sense for it. So it's nice that it's just a steady speed and we don't need slowdown. Let's just design the bosses so that we don't need slowdown. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff about it that I liked. And this is just casual mode, so it's not like the hardest. I also, well, we'll see it eventually, but like, I haven't played it, but I know that the last boss, I've watched the Dodonpachi Saidaijo as DOJ, true last boss in Bachi, and I guess the true last boss in this game is a reference to that. When I first saw it, I thought it was really cool, because I'm like, wait, this pattern looks familiar. I haven't ever played it, but I've seen it played. Obviously, at this level, it's nothing compared to the harder modes, but still, it's cool that there's like an easier version of Inbachi. One of the supposedly like hardest bosses in gaming. So yeah, don't let the look of the game put you off from it, I would say. And I also was reading, like, well, it doesn't even have... I think the music isn't originally composed for the game. It's just, like, royalty-free music. But it wasn't an issue for me at all. Like, I enjoyed the music that they chose. Will I enjoy it after the 100th run? I'm not sure. But I don't think any shmup, any game really can pull that off. With it being music that you actually are kind of excited to hear. Anything that busy, you're just going to get listening fatigue over time. So I don't expect that from any shmup. Like, if I think about games where I'm still okay with the music after many hours of playing it, like Minecraft, it has a very reserved soundtrack. It's not super busy, and the music isn't even playing constantly. But that would be boring for a game like this, especially with your first impression of it. You want something more upbeat. No comment. I didn't even try out Maniac mode yet, so I'm just gonna, for now, probably work my way through the difficulty modes, and we'll see. Going by some videos I saw of it, I'm assuming it shouldn't be, like, super hard to clear, like requiring a bunch of practice. I don't think it'll be anywhere near, like, trying to complete Mushihime-sama 1.0 Maniac mode, or 1.5. And some of that is just, yeah. I think I mentioned this in one of my comment threads, that this game's gonna ruin other shmups for me, because I'm gonna go to them and wish that they had all these quality of life features. Oh, and in case you didn't realize, you're not seeing it when I actually recorded the run, but the stage number is changing, like, by different increments. That's because in trial mode, there's actually, I think, what is it, like eight stages other than the secret 9th stage, hidden stage. But you don't play all of them in a run. After every stage, you get to choose which one you'll play next. And I just accepted whatever the default was because I didn't know any better. So that's why the stage number is jumping between each of these segments. It's funny, even watching back this replay, I'm like, it's not super exciting necessarily to watch, but I mean, part of that is because it's not a very difficult run, but like I just want to get right back into it and start playing again, because everything about it is just really, I think, well done and polished in a way that you just don't get when you're playing ports of ancient games that, you know, there's all these compromises that have to be made. Plus the fact of they don't have all these years of experience and design to draw inspiration from. Somebody had to make the first steps and figure things out, figure out what works and what doesn't. There's a mechanic where if you go to the upper third, I think, of the screen, you'll suck in all of the hearts, which I don't really use that much because I just didn't want to risk it, you know, and I'm not going for score, so why risk it? It's just so nice having not having the purple shots. I just really like that. I was really getting sick of those purple shots in Mushihime-sama. And all the information displayed on the left is really great too. I didn't actually discover that until I'm recording this. But I will be glad to have that in future runs. I wonder when I'm going to hit a wall with this game, too. There's quite a few different difficulty levels. If they're gradual enough, maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll be one where switching to another game, I don't need to find a good next level of incremental difficulty. There's also a grazing mechanic, which is really cool. I've never played a game with that. It's just for scoring, I think. So I'm not going out of my way to do it. It has this nice static electricity, like clicking sound. Which is also great because then it lets you know when you've just narrowly avoided a shot if you weren't trying to graze. I'm quite sure that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these shot patterns, so there's, I think the first time I hypered, maybe, so it's not a bomb, it's a hyper. You press the bomb button and it consumes your buzz meter on the right there. Does more damage, clears all the shots for a brief moment. So I use that a few times. And the loadout I went with was all the defaults for this character. It looks like so I was considering the last A, so it says on the bottom right, it says AAAA manual. That is the kind of loadout for your character. The last A is, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically it'll let you have a shield. So if you have more than one mental level, instead of taking a hit, it'll reduce your mental level. So your mental level acts like kind of an additional shielding. And I didn't, make any use of that. But a different loadout I was considering is AAAD. I think that D just increases your damage output. So you won't get that shielding effect, but you'll have increased damage, and then you'd have to use your bombs. Oh, and the bombs I didn't quite use them that much so far. I just didn't have a need to. But they're actually a meter as well, rather than a pickup. Although there's probably a pickup that gives you bomb. I don't know. So it's that circle around your character when it's full, and you can use a bomb, I think, if I remember correctly. So you can regain that meter and use it. Like, you don't have to be hoarding it for such a long time and then, not planning your route around specifically when you're going to get a bomb. And although I don't have a sense of how quickly that meter refills because I just haven't been using bombs. You can even use different styles of bombs as part of your loadout. So yeah, I might try going with the not having the shield. It says for recommended for beginners. So I was curious if I might actually do better with increased damage, because that would mean defeating enemies faster, and then what specifically I'm thinking about is for the true last boss. They have a bomb shield, which thankfully I knew what it was because of seeing some other shmups where that was the case. I think maybe Novice Ultra mode in Mushihime-sama had kind of a shield. I don't exactly remember how that worked, but in this, you are not going to scam the true last boss by just bombing your way through it. It gets a shield. Even when you get hit, when you use your own shield, if you have that equipped. So, I think. So there's no way to cheese the true last boss. Meaning that if I have the increased damage loadout, I think that would make the true last boss easier, because it would just be less time I have to survive against their really difficult pattern. Oh yeah, what this game reminded me of, the art style and just the overall aesthetic, it reminded me of Puyo Puyo. If you've not heard of that, it's this puzzle game. It's kind of like think Tetris, but it's not Tetris. It's these blobs that you have to connect four of. It's a very long-running series. The aesthetic here kind of reminded me of that. I've played a fair bit of Puyo Puyo. Not really super competitively, but I learned a little bit about chaining and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool game, but I think got a little bit sick of trying to practice and learn chaining, and the story modes of those games. I just like how in shmups, you're just playing the game and getting better at it. You're not having to... I don't know, it's hard to explain. You can like pretty easily breeze through the story modes of most Puyo Puyo games, I think. Without even necessarily getting really good at chaining, although it helps. But I felt like it's more fun playing through and mastering shooting games, because they want you to master all the skills that are possible. I don't know. I'm speaking about something I don't know enough about. I did also play Tetris. Tetris the Grandmaster 3. But never, obviously, since I don't have any videos about it, I never got to anywhere like remotely close to actually getting the Grandmaster rank in that, which is very difficult. That was a really cool game, and I heard that they are they might finally be releasing a new version of that game after such a long time. Somehow managed to get through these last hard sections without bombing, but once we get to the last stage, that's going to change. Really curious what'll come of that Tetris the Grandmaster series. That's like my favorite version of Tetris. I really like those, and they appeal to me, whereas all the other Tetris games, not really. But I think I'll be focused on shmups. It's been hard to really want to play anything else, to be honest, since I got into shmups. I kind of have these moments where I sit and I think like, man, why did I ever play any other kind of game? That sounds really snooty. I've heard that sentiment expressed in other, like, you know, kind of like people who talk about these things. And I did think it was kind of, I don't know what the right word is for it, but it sounds really snobbish to hear that. But it's been my actual experience that I feel like other games just they're not giving me what I want in the most direct way that I want it. They're adding all these other things like that, you know, I'm not just like playing immediate direct action and feedback. Like that's the core philosophy of any action game. And it's probably part of it is I actually don't play a lot of action games. Like I was playing more games that have action but aren't like super hardcore action games. So part of it is just the selection of games that I'm thinking of. But yeah, I just can't imagine now wanting to sit down and play like Minecraft or something like that. Not that it's a bad game at all, or that it's wrong to enjoy those games. There's just something about these games that are just so pure that I feel like you just don't get from other games. And in some ways, other games are... the fun derived from them is almost like, in some ways, an illusion. Like an illusion of progress or wasting your time on things that aren't as fun as just a well-paced shooting game. But everyone has different ideas of what is or isn't a waste of time. I'm sure it's situational and I'll feel differently in the future and be down to play some other games. I begrudgingly play other games when my friends want to play them, so not entirely begrudgingly. So here we have the hidden stage, which I've never played, reaching here, and I was a little taken by surprise, actually, when it started. I had my hands off the controller, because I was like, that was nice, and I was just stretching. So I almost took a hit at the beginning. So I guess it's a boss rush sort of situation, and I might be mistaken, but I think it also has every enemy type that appears in every stage at least once. And then it has every boss as well. But every boss has only one phase. But it's a different phase than usual. So there were some cool patterns in here. Like it started to get significantly harder. To the level where if things didn't pan out exactly how they did, I might have taken a hit before the true last boss. But I don't think I ended up taking any hits, and I don't think I ended up ever bombing, just hypering. I don't know what people consider... Is no miss, no bomb traditionally include hypers, or do people really distinguish between... Like, obviously, I would think it's more of an accomplishment to do no miss, no bomb, no hyper. But if a game has hypers, do people really go like, oh, I did a no miss, no bomb, but I did use hypers? Like, is that something people shoot for, or do they really just go for like the whole, you know, no miss, no bomb, no hyper? I don't know, because I've never played a game with hyper until this one, and my brief dabbling with some other ones. So I think I finally am starting to get how this boss works, because it's a little weird with the breakable appendages, but I guess shooting the appendages doesn't hurt him, but destroying an appendage does. It, like, removes a chunk of his health. Or you can also shoot him directly if there's room. Something I wasn't sure about, because I don't think the situation has occurred yet, is there hit detection between... Can you die by running into enemies? I'll have to... Obviously that is an easy thing to check. Here's a cool pattern that I thankfully didn't have to get through because I killed the boss so quickly. Yeah, I don't know if running into enemies hurts you. I've just tried to keep my distance. Those are the hardest patterns, I think. For me, the hardest ones are when things are coming at from opposite sides, especially from behind, because those aren't patterns that you see that often in these sorts of games, so it's not something you have a lot of prior experience to draw from. But yeah, when things are kind of entering the playfield and then moving around, that's pretty tough. It's like the stage 3 boss of Mushihime-sama on Maniac. His last pattern where he just has all the bullets randomly moving in every direction. And then it speeds up slightly. Okay, so here we have the true last boss. And this is... I was really excited when I got to the Inbachi... the stuff that I recognized from STOJ, Inbachi. I can't believe it's not Inbachi. So not too bad so far. Some pretty small gaps that we have to get through there. I haven't dealt with this shot type before, so I'm not sure exactly how the hitbox works on those triangles, like if it's the whole triangle or if it's not. I've never played a game that had that shape. Like if, and now this is where things really start to heat up. And here's where the misses start. So I love this music. The music even reminds me of the Inbachi fight, because it's like a sampled voice clip, and it's this like really fast techno. And I love that. That's like something that games can, like an experience that games can deliver that you can't get just from like listening to music or watching a movie or something separately. Like it's the hypeness of when the, you know, serious time music kicks in. And that's another thing that I liked about the game I was talking about earlier, Tetris Grandmaster 3, when you start to get to the later stages and things speed up and the music changes. So that wasn't too tough. That pattern's a lot harder, of course, on Maniac. The stuff coming from every direction. Now here we get to this pattern. Do people call it am I remembering correctly? People call it like a dishwasher pattern? I don't know. So, and this isn't even the final form of this pattern. I was really glad with how long I managed to last here. But yeah, when the blues and the reds start coming together. So look at that, I took a hit, and now I can't damage the boss. And then I was like, oh, I'll just bomb. And she gets a shield when I do that as well. So you are not... When you're invulnerable, the boss is invulnerable. So you really have to survive in order to be able to deal damage, which thankfully I managed to do it for long enough. That was really, really fun when I got there. I had such a great experience just playing through this my first time. Like, yeah, and there we go. Replay has ended. What did you think? I thought that was great, and I want to play more of this game for sure. And I'm glad I checked it out. So, I think I'll try Maniac mode next. And thanks for watching this video. I know this isn't a super amazing run or anything. I just thought I did the run, and I wanted to talk about this game, use it as an opportunity to talk about this game, which I think is cool. So I will see you whenever I manage to clear the next mode. So goodbye for now.